Speaking of great players, we'll notice our guests have swapped seats. It is Neve's turn to be in charge of the Saturday Social Magnets. You can see there's a range of age numbers on the Saturday Social whiteboard. What's the plan, Joe? Yeah,
absolutely. So we've got 16 all the way up to 32 listed. We're going to go through Neve's selection of the best player at each age group based on this season, though. We're going to make that importantly clear, aren't we? This is not based historically, so there are some big name omissions coming up, I think. Yeah. But there are some also incredibly informed players. Let's start at 16, shall we? Who are you going for? This is a tough age, isn't it? Because it's not really
an outrageous request when you really think about it. Yeah, I couldn't think of many 16-year-olds and I didn't want to spend long doing so. So what I did was I had a little look at who the academies in the country were interested in, and I noticed, Igor Tyjon was someone that was a lot of academies have shown interest in. So I had a look at his PL2 clips, scout clips. So I was watching AstroTurf footage up and down the country. This guy, he's an attacker, good close control, really great shot technique on him, looks a lot more senior than he is. And do you know what else I did? I watched every single minute of his championship season thus far. He's only played 1 minute against Bristol City. Yeah. It was a great minute, though. He touched the ball once. But I've gone with him because he looks like he shows a lot of talent. But even like Mikey Moore, 17, Bawadi at Lille is 17.
Let's talk about 17. Let's get him up and let's go to 17, because there's much bigger names there, isn't there, to discuss?
Age 17, I think we all know who's coming here. Is this an easy one for you?
Yeah, so easy. So easy. He'd be the best on many of these age brackets. He plays like a player so much more mature, so much older than he actually is. His football intelligence is outrageous. The moment where I thought, wow, no, this guy, he knows what he's doing, was in the Euros when Spain played France. And he was out on the right-hand side the whole game, but he had 2v1 on him, so he moved it in slightly more central, and Teo Hernandez stayed out wide, so he only had Rabiot on him this time. And it also meant Dani Olmo could go over to the right. But the amount of times he helped Jesus Navas as well at the back, and Nacho too.
His game intelligence is brilliant.
A lot of players could learn from him.
I also think a big thing that I learnt from him in the Euros, because we'd seen clips from him before that, but then I personally was watching a lot of him in the Euros, was like not fazed at all by pressure. And the bigger the game, the more he stepped up in, which is a player that was 16 at the time, that turned 17 in the tournament. I think he's a massive asset of his as well.
It's crazy, and even in that France game you speak of, Adrien Rabiot was talking to him before the game, calling him out, and it's almost like he answered the call, and that speaks to his level of mentality. And what a talent, honestly.
Yeah, Rabiot was involved in that phase of play, wasn't he?
For the goal as well.
Stick him up.
The only thing with him, I'd say, is Hansi Flick's quite reliant on him in the system. He didn't start against Osasuna and they lost that game, so really they need to be managing his game time a little bit more, I'd say.
5 goals, 6 assists and 11 appearances for Barca already this season.
OK, 18-year-olds.
Yeah, I think I've gone with Endrick. I could have gone with Warren Zaire-Emery, could have gone with Lenny Yoro. You know, I highly rate Endrick. It's hard because Yamal sort of sets the standard way too high, and so even though Endrick's exceptional, he still looks quite raw. I'd say there's elements of his decision-making that could be slightly better, like picking the right moment to shoot. But what you've got to bear in mind is that entire Real Madrid forward line seems to be all adapting how to play with each other, so he's got to try and find a way in that with limited minutes. But from what I've seen, wow.
All right, let's get him up and go to 19. This is an interesting pick, I think.
It was a toss-up between Kenan Yildiz and Rico Lewis, and I went for Kenan Yildiz in the end. And that's because of, I think, the versatility across the forward line that he's shown. He excites me a lot on the wing. I think that's his best position, sort of cutting into the space on his right foot, but he can play just behind the striker. And he's brought so much out of Vlahovic, who had really struggled for a little bit under Allegri, and he transformed him, so he elevates the players around him, and he's one of Juventus' best players.
Kobbie Mainoo, I believe, is in that category as well, 19. Got to shout out Kobbie Mainoo, surely, here.
100%. I mean, the year he's had from being in the academy to, by the end of the season, being in the England squad, speaks to his talent and his mentality as well. But Kenan Yildiz, I think, is a great pick as well. Got to go co-sign from Del Piero, which I think speaks a lot of.
Yeah, OK, 20. This is a tough category, this. Because obviously you've gone for Savinho, but there's also John Duran in there. Gavi, João Neves, Garnacho, Jamie Gittins is in there. Some big-name 20-year-olds.
Yeah, but which player for me is having the most consistent impact and an outrageously good team as well? Not many players can come into a team that's already probably top 2, top 3 in the world and make them better. Every time he gets the ball, he looks like he's about to create a goal in some way. He covers so much ground as well. I think City are much better on the transition this season because of him. But yes, he's improved Manchester City, for goodness sake. So that's what we need for me.
Sticking with now, I want to spend time on the age 21 category because this is stacked. You know what, I'm actually going to Fuad first before we reveal your picks to see who you'd pick.
Okay.
So we've gone Jude Bellingham, Florian Wirtz, Musiala, Camavingo, Pedri's in there. I mean, it is an absolutely stacked category.
Yeah, it's absolutely stacked.
Who would you go with for it?
I think it's hard to ignore Jude Bellingham, isn't it? I mean, what he's done over the past couple of years, this season, the Madrid move, the way he's settled into it like a duck to water, won the Champions League, pulling out heroic moments for England at the Euros as well. People might say his performances weren't great, but he always seems to be the man for the big occasion, and it's hard to ignore him. Who have you gone for?
So I have gone with Jude Bellingham. However, if you came back to me in a few months, I would probably put Pedri. Because I think a fully fit Pedri will overtake Bellingham. It depends what midfielder you like. All those names, the different kinds of midfielder. And I love a midfielder that controls a game. I love a midfielder that picks the ball up deep and just dictates that tempo of that game. And Pedri missed so many matches last season. He had an injury this season. When he gets back to full speed, I think we'll realise how good he is. But right now, it's Bellingham.
It's weird. I feel like Bellingham's started to get a little bit of hate almost. Some of his performances. I noticed it with England during the week, and then he obviously pops up with the winner and that. I found it quite bizarre for a 21-year-old.
I think it's part and parcel when you're at the top, and a lot of people are kind of want to be your critics. But I think it speaks a lot when you say they've got Camavinga and Jude at 21 at Real Madrid at that age. They're secure for the future.
I've got to shout out Musiala as well. I've obviously covered the under-21s for many years, watching him play, and a lot of Bundesliga action as well. And honestly, he is so integral to the way whatever team he's playing in plays, and I think his ceiling is really high as well. I know that he's got a lot of competition in this category, but Musiala is an unbelievable talent.
22.
22.
Yep. Cole Palmer.
This one's easy?
Yeah, fairly straightforward.
There are some good players in there, you know, Michael Olise, Oscar Gvardiol, some good names, but they're just not Cole Palmer, are they, right now?
Yeah, they're not having... He's just superstar, isn't he? You know, he's the player that everyone's talking about, everybody's watching.
Is he the best player in the Prem?
No, I still think Haaland's the best player in the Prem at the moment.
Okay.
I do think Palmer's second behind him, though. And, yeah, he's an absolute superstar. And it would be interesting, because the next person I've got, actually, should we do 22?
I was just about to ask that.
Yeah. 23, rather. Saka. I've got Saka. And, do you know...
Put them both on.
When we talk about Palmer and Saka, because it's almost like you're not allowed to compliment one without people saying, well, do you hate the other? It's bizarre. I would love it if whoever the England manager ends up being, if they could find a way to play those two together, because I honestly do think you can play those two together. Yeah. A little bit in the way that if you look at Saka and he gets tight to Odegaard and Havertz as well at Arsenal, you can have two players that sort of combine with each other, close to each other, but we'd have to make it work with the other players, with the balance.
You think Palmer, it works in that Chelsea system with Madueke on the right. I think he's almost better in the 10 floating around. You know, the competition might end up being Palmer versus Jude or Cole Palmer versus Foden, which I think is...
Let's bring Fuad in on this, because obviously you mentioned that the Palmer, Saka, Foden, it's a debate a lot of fans have. I'm not going to ask you who you think's best, because as you quite rightly pointed out, you're doing a disservice to all of them, but who do you think has the highest ceiling out of those three? Honestly, England players. I
find it hard to argue against Saka. I know Palmer's almost like the guy who's doing it at the moment, but I think Saka, every single year at Arsenal, it seems like there's a challenge thrown at him and he rises to the occasion. This season, you've got Odegaard missing. He's taken the armband and he's taken the team by the scruff of the neck like it's nothing. So
got 7 assists already in the Premier League this season.
Just going to raise one more name in the 23-year-old category. I think Saliba.
Yes.
Rolls Royce.
It's unbelievable. He might be the best centre-back on the planet right now, alongside, you know, Virgil van Dijk. Oh, you raised your eyebrows. I think it's close.
I like that you mentioned Virgil.
No.
I agree.
He's 23.
Good shout.
24?
24. Now, this is a really tough category. Now, Niamh, you've just said you think Haaland is the best player in the Premier League right now.
Yeah.
But you've not picked Haaland for 24 because of this man.
Yeah, I think with Haaland, with that question, it's more about form, isn't it? And all the goal scoring that Haaland's done. And as a goal scorer, yes, Haaland's exceptional.
Tough age. Vinny and Haaland is a tough one, isn't it?
I've gone with Vinicius as the overall player because I think he's got the goal scoring instincts that Haaland's got, but he also goes and takes games. He takes control of the games as well. And Real Madrid at the moment, the attackers, if I was a young attacker at Real Madrid, all those players they've got there, the player I'd be looking to learn from at the moment is Vinicius as well. He's their best attacker.
OK.
Which is not easy.
Throughout age 24, obviously, we'll shout out some of the names as we have them with all of them. Vinicius Jr., Erling Haaland, Foden, Tchouaméni. Who would you have gone for this age category?
I'd have easily gone for Vinny as well. Current favourite for the Ballon d'Or. And I think, as you said, he's got that little bit of X factor in big games in the Champions League where you always feel like he can be the game decider. So, top quality player, in my opinion.
OK. And we move on to another stacked category, age 24.
Good luck. Because this is where it starts to get controversial.
Should we read some names?
Well, there is a player called Mbappe who's 25.
Yeah.
And you've gone Bastoni.
Wow.
Got Alessandro Bastoni. And you know, Odegaard, I think he's 25.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is. Rice.
Declan Rice.
Yeah.
Alexander Isak. Kai Havertz.
So, you know, you mentioned about centre-backs, best one on the planet. I think that Bastoni is as good as Van Dijk and Saliba right now.
Oh.
I really do. And the reason why, let me say why.
I think it's easier playing in the 3, though.
No, the thing is, though, I think naturally, for a lot of back threes, it might be, but the type of back three that Inter play is actually not. So if you look at the role that Bastoni plays, Inzaghi's back three is not a normal back three. It's a really aggressive front foot back three. So if you look at the way Bastoni has to fit into that system, he's got DiMarco on his left as a wing back. If you watch DiMarco when he plays for Inter,
he's a winger.
As soon as they build up, he's off.
Yeah.
So Bastoni's got a lot of responsibility. Not only that, I don't know if you've seen Bastoni's ability on the ball, but it is exceptional. And because of that, you often see him in midfield as well, because his in-swinging crosses from deep are exceptional. But it's even beyond that. Because of the way that Inter play, they've got 2 strikers and a wing-back. And the 2 strikers are really tight to Ramos Martinez because they combine with each other. There's a big space between the wing-back, DiMarco hugging the touchline, and those 2 strikers. That space in between, Bastoni's the one who occupies that space. And we talk about Gvardiol and how exceptional he is and fluid on the ball. So's Bastoni. Like, he looks like a player that could play other positions because of it. Yeah. And that versatility as a centre-back, I've never quite seen anything like it. It's exceptional. And there's not a team in Europe that Bastoni would not improve because of how versatile
I love the level of knowledge and depth with that answer.
Detail.
But obviously, Mbappe as well in that category.
I can't.
Who would you have gone with?
I can't ignore that. I think I have to go Mbappe. And I know, obviously, the season has started with a couple of penalties and people say maybe he hasn't had the best Euros, but Mbappe is Mbappe at the end of the day. He's best player, one of the best players in the world, in my opinion.
Yeah, but what I like about this show is that it reflects the current period that we discuss. Yeah. And I've got no doubt that this time next year that could age horrendously when Mbappe finds his form. Yeah. But, you know, whether it's psychological factors, whether it's fitting into a new team with new players.
Injuries.
You know, yeah, injuries, like the nose injury in the Euros, I've got no doubt that might have impacted him. But all these different factors, apart from Messi and Ronaldo, how many players do you truly know that maintain the standard that they're capable of every year of their career? Right. So I'm not having a go at Mbappe. There's nothing negative on him. I just don't think 2024 has been his best year. And the impact, the intensity that he has in games has just not been the same as what we've seen of him in the past. So
good argument. OK, let's go to 26.
Well, talk of intensity. Valverde.
Another Real Madrid. A lot of Real Madrid's names we're
pick.
seeing on the board.
Yeah, of course. They've had a great year.
I'm going to again shout out a defender here, though. Gabriel.
Yeah.
Also, you got Trent in that category as well?
Yeah. So,
yeah,
but Fede's just incredible, isn't
I pondered over it. Yeah, Valverde is so important to how Real Madrid work. He'll be even more important this season with the loss of Toni Kroos as well. He just puts in all the groundwork, covers so much ground, but also his shot technique's unbelievable as well. And where he's so useful to Real Madrid is with Carvajal on that right, he covers for him all the time on that right-hand side. So, yeah, such a useful, underrated player.
Let's stick him up because 27 is another quite stacked category. So let's reveal who you've got and then we'll see what Fuad thinks of this one.
Barella.
OK.
Lautaro Martinez in there as well. Luis Diaz, Ruben Diaz. Teo Hernandez.
I think Ruben Diaz maybe would have been the one, but that's just me being a centre-back kind of nodding towards that. But I think Barella's a quality player, I think.
Yeah, I think Ruben Diaz is exceptional. I don't think this has been his best year, personally, either. I've gone with Barella because another one who I think is so underrated. I don't know if it's maybe his, like, slightly diminutive stature as a midfielder that's put Premier League clubs off him, because it shocks me that there's not been more interest in him. I think that if you were an elite team, having a player that can drop between the centre-backs, pick up the ball and be so composed in any area of the pitch and, like I say, control the tempo of a game, those players are not easy to come by, and I'm shocked that more players haven't tried to get Barella.
Yeah, shout out Lautaro Martinez, obviously top scorer in Serie A last season, with 24 goals. But you've gone with Barella, stick him up. I think 28. I don't think we need to spend too much time with. I don't want to say tap in to be disrespectful to anyone, but I imagine most people would have Rodri in this category.
Not amazing alternatives either.
No,
to be said.
Not at all.
This is
It's like City get an extra man, I think, because they attack so highly. There really is not many number sixes that possess all the world-class abilities. And what separates him from other number sixes, I think, is that he'll always find the best pass, never the safe pass. I think other number sixes could really learn from him on that.
Do you know what I think Man City might miss about him? We talk about his on-the-ball defensive ability. We talk about that side of it, but, like, the goals, the clutch goals. I think 17 goal involvements last season. That's big numbers to replace, by the way.
Well, he just dictates a lot, doesn't he?
Yeah. This is a crazy one. 29, I love it. You always shout out Lobotka. Every time you're on the show, you shout out Lobotka.
Yeah,
I've got a lot of time for Lobotka. Do you know who else has got a lot of time for Lobotka?
Go on.
Cesc Fabregas. So if you want to have a go at me, we'll go and have a go at Cesc Fabregas.
Saw that.
Because when Fabregas was asked about Lobotka,
that.
his words, not mine, were, Mamma mia, I wish I could have a team of 11 Lobotkas. He's world class.
Yeah, you know what, I did see that. Exactly what he said. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Conte loves him as well, doesn't he? So.
Yeah.
He was one of the 4 players that Conte said to be at Napoli, he has to keep him. Di Lorenzo, Anguissa, he was one, Kvaratskhelia was one, and him and Anguissa as the cushions for McTominay is why McTominay is thriving.
They're loving McTominay,
Love him.
aren't they? Love McTominay. We should have some alternative like we have done in this category, because 29 is quite an interesting one. Jack Grealish, Kimmich, Akanji, Ake, Gnabry.
Grimaldo.
It's a stacked category. This. Who would you have gone with out of those names?
Kanji is one that's very underrated in my opinion. I think since he signed for City, he is fielding that right back, left back, centre mid, centre back, and done it all to an elite level in my opinion. Let's not forget the Euros he had over the summer as well.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Okay.
30.
Yeah.
One of the more simple selections here.
Yeah, definitely. It's year after year after year.
What a player.
What a player. Can play anywhere. One of the most reliable players in Premier League history.
Yeah, totally agree. 31.
31 again. Is this a bit of a tap-in?
Yeah,
Do you
definitely.
think? No argument. Let's come to the Spurs fan on Harry Kane.
I mean, went to a new league last year, scored incredible amount of goals. I think
44 goals in 45 appearances for Bayern last season in his debut season in a new league.
what a player, honestly, and the game of what he brings to Bayern, I think you're seeing more out of Elise now that he's over there as well now. Of course, I would love for him to pick some silverware before his career is over, because what a shame that would be for a player of that calibre to retire without any trophies.
Think he will this season?
He'll win the Bundesliga this season.
I hope so. I hope so.
It's not always a tap-in, is it,
Yeah,
at the moment? You know, new season under Vincent Kompany, first season. They've been taking a little bit of heat last couple of weeks, I've been seeing recently for performances. But overall, is he the best striker in the world for you, Neve?
No, I still would rather have Haaland as a striker. Yeah, and then
Best
him.
striker in the world for you?
I mean, even Lewandowski nowadays, still at 36 doing what he's
so
doing.
good.
It's
Yeah, if we'd have carried this on, I was thinking, where's Lewandowski?
yeah, but I think I'd go with Haaland. Hard to ignore him.
Yeah.
OK, let's get Kane up.
Could have done with Kane.
Talk about
against
32, because there's a good bit of discussion here.
Good discussion here, yeah.
Although Salah is
I
standout.
think Salah is the standout, yeah.
Yeah, sure. Who have you got that could...
Well, I think Emiliano Martinez has had a really good year. Like,
Come on, he's had a
not
good
Salah's
year,
level.
but let's
I think
not.
Son is decent at 32.
Come on. Do you know, even the fact that you're putting those two, I like those
Jack
two.
has had a very good year at 32.
I mean, that's not Leverkusen's year.
Leverkusen.
What is... I'm sorry, I'm not on board with this whatsoever. Do you know, I feel like what's just happened there epitomises Salah's whole career.
Agreed.
That he's lumped in these conversations he shouldn't be lumped in. The conversations he should be lumped in is, hang on, is this the right winger in a best-of-all-time Premier League 11? And to which the answer is yes. Because of his consistency and levels every single season, changes his game to adapt to whatever style he plays in. He's the most efficient winger I've ever watched in my life.
Do you know what's interesting? When you're talking about the Ronaldo Messi, I'm not saying he's Ronaldo Messi, but when you were saying about how many other players have that consistency, and you used the word consistency, the first player that came into my head for numbers was Salah, because even when there's not many seasons Liverpool have dipped, but even when they've not been at the performance they've been at previous seasons, he's always someone. If you look at his goals to game, he just always backs it up with numbers. doesn't he?
Yeah. And I think what we've seen over the past 18 months, he's become a bit more of a creative as well, adapting to kind of Liverpool, realising as age is getting on, I need to mould my game as well. And what a player.
Do you think he signs a new contract?
Yeah, I think all three do.
Do you? All
Virgil,
three of them?
Trent, and I think they will. I think it's hot. Those are big,
think
big
all three
characters
will?
to
Do you
lose.
think if Liverpool could have two, Liverpool fans get two, one has to go? Which one do you think they'd be the least sad
Trent
about?
has to stay.
Yeah, because the age
Son of the
profile.
soil. Yeah. And I think Virgil as well.
Okay.
You think they'd be happy to lose in Salah?
I say keep Trent and Salah, let Van Dijk go, and bring Bastonian as a replacement.
Wow.
That's incredible.
And you did mention there the conversation we should be having, so let's have it. Where does Mo Salah rank in terms of greatest ever Premier League players in his position?
First.
Number one.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you name me someone that I can put in there with him?
Cristiano?
Premier League, though? I think he's...
He won the Ballon
I mean, he
d'Or.
won the Ballon d'Or here. He's
But,
set
I
the
mean,
record.
we've got to give a little bit of respect to longevity, no?
I agree.
I think what's Ronaldo got, like
agree.
100 and something Premier League goals, 102, 103? What's he got, like 160?
Yeah.
And-
I think if you're taking longevity into account, yeah, you definitely have to give it to Salah.
Okay, stick him up.
The consistency is just outrageous. isn't it?
Unbelievable. Yeah,
Like,
numbers.
even in his low season, it's like the numbers that just you wouldn't associate
He's
with
scored
anyone
25 goals for Liverpool last season, 6 goals already this season. Yeah, unbelievable player. There is confirmation of Neve's list. Really enjoyed that, Neve. As always, let us know what you think of those picks at home.